It's not a serious effort to tell the story. It is a serious effort to monetize misery.
Alex Murdaugh's lawyer, not a fan of the storytelling in the new show based on the case that puts South Carolina's Low Country on the map. I take a look at the series, the claims it makes, the reviews it's getting, and what Murdaugh's lawyer has to say about it. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. You know, the line between truth and entertainment, it can blur when storytellers rip a story from the headlines and turn it into a TV show. Well, that's one of the criticisms of Murdaugh, A Death in the Family, a show now streaming on Hulu. And one of Alex Murdaugh's attorneys, Dick Harpootlian, believes the show has taken some liberties with the Murdaugh story. He'll join me shortly to discuss what he thinks of the show and what it has gotten wrong, in his opinion. Alex Murdaugh is an admitted thief and a liar. We covered his financial crimes extensively here on Law&Crime, but Murdaugh, to this day, claims he did not murder his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. He testified to that during his trial, which I covered gavel to gavel in early 2023. Here's a look back at some of Alex Murdaugh's testimony on the stand.
On June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son, Paul, in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take a .300 blackout, such as this, and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a .300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime, ever.
When you went back to Moselle on the morning of June the 8th, did you, do you know whether you took a shower there, or took a shower at Alameda, or took a shower at all?
Now, I know we took a shower at Moselle. I did not take a shower before I left Alameda. We basically got up and went to Moselle. Maggie's mom and dad.
They were there?
They were coming. Tell them, see them. We got up. We got up from Alameda and we left and we went to Moselle.
And do you know? Do you even recall SLED coming in and searching the house for anything on the 8th?
I knew that. I knew they were doing it. Yeah. I knew they were doing it.
Okay.
But I don't remember. I wasn't out in that gun room and see all that video and all that. But I knew SLED, was coming in there. We made the house available for them to come in there. So I can't tell you details, but yeah, I remember it.
Did you at one point just tell SLED they had carte blanche to search anywhere, anytime?
I told SLED they could do anything, anywhere, anytime that they wanted to. Anything to do with me, my property, my cars. Even though I didn't own the cars, I would get my law firm owned the cars. I would have the people. They had full, whatever they wanted, they were welcome to.
Now, Murdaugh called 911 on June 7th, 2021, and reported that he had found Maggie and Paul shot to death. Assistant Attorney General Creighton Waters grilled Murdaugh on cross-examination.
You've already testified, as have other people, that you were still able to function as a lawyer over the years despite the pills that you were using. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were able, of course, during this period of time to engage in these relatively complicated thefts that increased over the years that we've just talked about. despite the pill usage. Is that correct?
I was. I was.
All right. And you were also able to, during this time period, convince your staff that nothing was amiss with all of these exhibits, despite your pill usage.
I mean, most of those didn't require convincing my staff, but just so we're on the same page again, I acknowledge that I certainly allowed them to be misled. I certainly allowed them to do things that I shouldn't have done on my behalf, knowing that they trusted me.
And remember that video of Alex Murdaugh at the dog kennels right before Paul and Maggie were killed?
Get back. Get back. Quit, Cash. Come on. Quit. It's okay. Come here. It's not that bad. Come here, Cash. Shit. Come here. Post it. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
Hey, Bubba.
That's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
Now, you could hear Alex Murdaugh on that video, but it wasn't discovered until months after the murders on Paul Murdaugh's phone. And Alex said he wasn't at the kennels that night.
So you're telling me I never responded to Jim Griffin? Is that what you're saying here today?
I'm telling you,
Are you saying that you ever before yesterday reached out to anyone through yourself or through your attorneys and reached out to anyone in law enforcement or the prosecution and told them the story about the kennels? Are you telling me that?
what I'm telling you,
Answer my
Mr.
question
Waters,
first, please, sir. Answer my question first. Did you ever reach out to anyone in law enforcement or the prosecution and tell that story that you told this jury yesterday about the kennels before yesterday?
did I ever reach out to law enforcement to say, I want to tell you about the kennels? No, sir, I did not.
This is the Fifth Amendment line.
Pardon?
This questioning about him volunteering information on these charges violates his Fifth Amendment rights, and we strongly object. Any more, we have to make a motion.
The objection's overruled.
Alex Murdaugh was ultimately found guilty after the jury deliberated for about 3 hours.
The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant. Indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Okay. Guilty verdict.
He's appealing his convictions for Paul and Maggie's murders, claiming Clerk of Court Becky Hill tampered with the jury. She's now facing charges of misconduct in public office, perjury, and obstruction of justice, but not jury tampering charges. This new 8-episode series released on Hulu does take some creative license in depicting the real-life case of Alex Murdaugh and the events involving his family. It's a compelling dramatization. It's a TV show, and it has a star-studded cast, including Oscar winner Patricia Arquette, who plays Maggie Murdaugh. Actor Jason Clarke plays Alex Murdaugh, and Gerald McRaney portrays Alex's father, Randolph. These are really good actors, and the creators acknowledge making editorial changes to the narrative to capture the emotional truth of the story, but even minor timeline shifts and fictionalized things can create misconceptions. Now, don't get me wrong. The series did get the broad strokes of the case right. The 2021 murders at the family property, the 2019 boat crash involving Paul, and even Alex's long-running financial problems. The opening scene begins with the moment that Alex places that fateful 911 call, but after that scene, the timeline, it takes you back to February of 2019 and the horrific boat crash that killed Mallory Beach. So I want to bring in somebody who has been intimately involved in the Murdaugh case from the very beginning and still is. He's Dick Harpootlian, one of Alex Murdaugh's attorneys, and he still is his attorney working on his appeal for a new trial in the murder case. So, Dick, you watched the new Hulu show.
Well, a little bit of it. I got to tell you, it was hard to stomach. It was not very good, and fantasy. It's a fictional soap opera. The facts, or at least the factual allegations they make, or the facts they rely on for this thing, are just not true.
Now, what are some of the things that are not true, like specific examples? Because we know in real life, real life makes for the best drama. Tragedies make for the best dramas. And we had talked, earlier about how you kind of looked at this as almost like a soap opera take on what happened. What are you seeing in this show that doesn't ring true to you?
Well, I mean, this may not matter to anybody else, but after the boat case, there's a trip that the entire family in this movie takes to the Bahamas. Never happened. Um, and while they're in the Bahamas, there's all this fantasy of infidelity or attempted infidelity by both Maggie and Alec. Never happened because the trip never happened, so that obviously didn't happen. There's Maggie talking to somebody, talking about how she caught Alec in a fling a year before, and she was seeing a divorce lawyer. Never happened. And by the way, if in fact there was any evidence or inference that she had caught him in some infidelity, or there was any infidelity, whether she caught him or not, and she'd gone to see a divorce lawyer, why would the prosecution would have put that in evidence at trial? That in trial, at the trial, that would be much better motive evidence than this. Killed him to distract from his financial misdeeds. I mean that. Never, and by the way, at the end of the case, the prosecutor argued to the jury, in his argument to the jury, said, "Don't worry about motive. Disregard motive." So they had no motive, and that would have been a lifeline for them if there was any truth to it whatsoever, and there wasn't.
The prosecution, their motive that they told the jury about was the fact that Alec was under this huge financial strain. His financial mess was going to be exposed, and that day he was working on the financials for the boat case, and he needed a distraction. He needed to buy time, and this was the way to do it. That was essentially what they told the jury, and the jury believed it. Obviously, he's sitting in prison serving 2 life sentences for the murders of Maggie and Paul. So, I mean, what else is there that you believe is not true? Because you believe that they took some artistic license and some liberties with the story here, and took some things that were out there a long time ago, that we've heard about, like this whole thing about Maggie wanted a divorce and things like that.
But not true. I mean, People Magazine ran an unnamed source saying that. No one ever came forward. And if there was a divorce lawyer out there that she went to see, he had a duty to come forward and tell the prosecution and the state. Maggie came to see me. She said, my notes indicate she said Alec had beat her or stolen or done something. Never came forward. There's no evidence whatsoever. And by the way, there's several reasons that at least one major reason that Alec got convicted, that has nothing to do with the evidence. That is, the clerk of court, Becky Hill, fixed the jury. I mean, a judge has found that she talked to jurors, attempted to influence jurors, and she told one of her assistants Alec needed to be found guilty so the book she was writing would sell more copies so she could buy a lake house. And this is the clerk of court who talked to jurors, and I submit did much more than that to make sure there was a guilty verdict. We didn't know that was going on, but a subsequent hearing, everybody concluded that she had on several occasions tried to persuade the jury to convict Alec.
I want to go back to the divorce lawyer thing. After the trial, I remember seeing some interview on a competitor's air about a manicurist. And, they didn't show the manicurist's face, but, she was saying, oh, yeah, I did Maggie's nails and she was looking to get a divorce. She wanted to leave Alec. And you're saying there was nothing in the discovery. We never heard that during the trial at all, but you said there was nothing in the discovery about that whatsoever, about Maggie being unhappy, wanting a divorce, anything having to do with that.
Everybody we talked to, her sister, her girlfriend she confided in. I mean, maybe she would tell a manicurist things she would not confide in her sister, her mother, her father, uh, Buster. I mean, nobody saw anything or heard anything from her about a divorce or divorce lawyer. But maybe the manicurist. And by the way, where was that manicurist at trial? Again, if the prosecution had that kind of testimony that was credible, we would have heard it during the trial, because it's a much better motive than trying to distract on this financial investigation. By the way, the evidence was there was not going to be any imminent problem because of the auditor's comments to him that day. That the boat trial, the lawyer that was involved in the boat trial indicated it'd be months before anything might be discovered about his finances in the boat trial. So that's bunk. All of that is bunk.
Is there anything else specifically that you can point to that you saw in the show that you think just doesn't ring true? It's not accurate.
Well, they make they conflate the timeline. Just it's hard to sort of sort all that out. But again, I only watched an episode and a half, and it was so inaccurate and so. Look, they've got me being played by a guy who has an accent like Foghorn Cleghorn. I mean, it was just horrible. And when Paul didn't stand in the courtroom, I lean over to him and say, "Stand the up." I mean, I don't think I've ever said "stand the up" to any defendant, let alone Paul. And of course, he doesn't say "stand." He says, "Stand the up." Okay, so I mean, it's just.
So you didn't like that you were made to look like Foghorn Leghorn, the big old rooster from the cartoons.
Yes, right. And last night I'm told I've stopped watching it, that Alec is in one episode, the one they showed last night. His cell phone goes off. He looks at it, and across the screen it says Dick Harpootlian, me. He picks up the phone and says, "Dickie Poo, how you doing today?" No one in my life has ever called me Dickie Poo.
Not even your wife?
Never in my life has anybody called me Dickie Poo. And don't you call me Dickie Poo.
I will never call you Dickie Poo, ever.
But I mean, it's just stupid. This is stupid stuff. Who writes a script and puts in there, have Alex say, call his lawyer Dickie Poo? What? I mean, it's not a serious effort to tell the story. It is a serious effort to monetize misery.
This, I guess, is based on the life of, or the story of, or the story through the eyes of this Mandy Matney, who hosted a podcast about this and caught some fire during the case. She's been, she has a lot of fans, but she's also received a lot of criticism, for her tactics and things of that nature. So, do you think that's part of why this show is the way it is? I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming she had some input, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think her claim to fame early on in the Murdaugh case, was that she had sources at SLED, the State Law Enforcement Division, that were giving her confidential information. The biggest break she got was that she reported that SLED had seized Alex shirt the night of the murders, and SLED tests had come back and shown there was blood spatter on his shirt. Blood spatter is a fine mist that's generated when somebody is shot, and typically comes back onto the shooter, and that it was Paul's blood. And that was reported, months and months and months and months, maybe a year before his trial. 90 days before the trial, my office, Holly Miller in my office is looking at all the records that they furnish us, and they literally furnished us hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of documents. Was going through, and you got to look at all of them. I mean, it's a criminal case. You got to look at every one. So she opened a folder that was supposed to be a witness. Can't remember the witness's name. Not really relevant. And in there was a SLED report from the SLED chemist indicating that the blood on Alex's shirt was not human blood. Now that was consistent with what he had told us, that was a shirt he went fishing in a lot, and after he caught a fish, he might gut it, which would put a fine spray on him. So she was putting out SLED propaganda that it was human blood and it was Paul's blood. And by the way, the fact that it wasn't given to us in the normal fashion. Here's our test results, and more importantly, when they tested the shirt, they destroyed it. So we had no opportunity to run our own test. So she's out there pumping this out for the prosecution. She was not. She was a partisan. She was for the prosecution. She expressed that from the get-go. And so, I mean, if she helped write this movie, it's very, very explicable as to why it is. She believes, well, she believed that and by the way, the SLED agent that didn't give us that report denied knowing that it wasn't human blood, admitted on the stand he lied to the grand jury in this case, and most recently was confronted with hiding evidence on another criminal case. So,
David Owen.
Pardon me?
David Owen.
Yes, and so she's his apologist because he was her source.
Interesting. Well, I am going to watch a little bit more of it. I just I think it's, obviously causing some headlines. It's gotten some good reviews, but it's also been panned. Patricia Arquette, she's a good actress.
Great.
She's
and by the way, everything I saw her, she did a great job. The guy, Jason Clarke, is playing Alec. Uncanny resemblance. His accent is believable. The things they have in the script for him to do didn't happen, but that's not his fault. He didn't write the script. I think that the guy playing Randolph, the grandfather, who was a good friend of mine, does a credible job. I mean, I'm not, except for the guy playing me, I'm not really complaining about any of the actors. I just think, well, I think they miscast him. I think they miscast him. And he's the only one in the show that's got that accent. So I don't quite understand. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm not from down there. So you can hear you hear some syrupy Southern foghorn, cleghorn accent here? I don't think so.
Yeah. So no quibbling with the acting. You think
Right.
the acting was laudable, with the exception of you being miscast, the Dick Harpootlian character. Your issue is with the telling of the story and the inaccuracies.
Well, inaccuracies, and they do things for effect, like that Dickie Poo thing last night. Why do that? I mean, that's just maybe Mandy doesn't like me. I don't know if she's writing the script. I don't know who wrote the script, but whoever wrote the script didn't know the story. Didn't you might want to you might want to read the transcript from the trial if you want the facts. And most of what is in this show is not in the transcript.
Well, there's certainly a story being told on Hulu, but you have a story to tell as well, don't you? So tell me about this book that you've written. I'm really interested in reading it. And it's about a case you prosecuted years and years ago.
1983, I prosecuted a guy named Donald Pee Wee Gaskins, and he is the largest mass murderer / serial killer in the history of South Carolina. I convicted him of his 14th murder. He had 13 prior convictions, including pregnant women, babies. I mean, he just killed at will. I convicted him of taking a contract on a death row inmate while he was serving a life sentence. That is Pee Wee. He smuggled in a quarter of a pound of military-grade C4 plastic explosive, a blasting cap, constructed a device, and blew his head off. He was a voracious killer. I got to know him pretty well. Got to be on a first-name basis with him during our trial.
Wow.
And
You like just look over and be like, "Hey, Pee Wee, how's it going?"
Well, I mean, he was so disarming. When he first time he went to, he walked by and he said, "Hey, Dick, how you doing?" I've never been on a first name basis with a defendant, and of course, you reflexively say, "Okay, Pee Wee, how about you?" And as it took like between the hearings and the trial 8 weeks, and it's in the book, but one of the seminal scenes is at a lunch break during the trial. Pee Wee was so affable and engaging. He convinced the guards to let him eat in the courtroom at lunch, not down in the holding cell. So he'd be there sitting in the courtroom eating his lunch with the guards around. I'm sitting there at my table, the prosecution table, working on the afternoon witness. And he says, Dick. I said, what do you want? And that's how we talk, high pitched voice. What do you want, Pee Wee? He said, you're a lot like me. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you like killing. I said, what do you mean I like killing? He said, I've been watching you. You like killing me. You're enjoying this. I said, no. I'm not like you, and I'm not enjoying killing. I'm doing my job. I'm seeking justice. He said, I've spent most of my life in prison. In prison, your view of justice depends on whether you're giving it or getting it. He said, when you're getting it, it don't feel like justice. But he thought I enjoyed killing him because he enjoyed killing, and we were on a first name basis, and never really prosecuted him. He was electrocuted in the electric chair. 2 weeks before he was to be electrocuted, he tried to have my 4-year-old daughter kidnapped. So to hold hostage, while I was the DA, I could get him up to my office and he could escape from there. But the law enforcement got wind of it, diffused it. We lived with sweat agents with machine guns for a couple of weeks until he was executed. But he was very smart, had a cult of miscreants and ex-cons and runaways around. He killed a bunch of them, but just used them anyway. Had an affinity for young girls. Married a 14-year-old. I mean, when he was 40 something. I mean, he was the epitome of evil. And this book, Dig Me a Grave, is about all the murders and about him and how he got, where he ended up and how I ended up in a courtroom prosecuting him. So it'll be out in December. You can pre-order it now. The reviews we're getting, at least internally, are good. It's something I wanted to get off my chest for 30 years. And between the pandemic and finishing the Murdaugh trial, I got the time to do it.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much for talking with me, Dick Harpootlian. It's good to talk with you as always.
Great. Thank you so much. Enjoy being here.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.